Hello, in this video we are going to see how you can use Dokploy to self-host your own database and your own React application in there with the help of Node, and you will find out exactly what you need to do to have everything set up. So in this project we are going to set up an TanStack Start application that it will be linked to a database with Drizzle. We are going to set up everything from scratch, and we are just going to go and create a repository and configure everything in here and in Dokploy to have the end an application that it's up and running and it's hosted totally in Dokploy. So in this way you bypass like cloud providers like Vercel or Netlify or Cloudflare, and you take advantage of your own VPS and host this application locally with database and everything. Also in here I've written an article that it will provide you these details and all the things that we're going to set up. So you will first need to have a GitHub account. You can just create one for free. You need to have a VPS with Dokploy installed, and this was already done in the previous video, so I will let the link to the description for that. And you will need to have a domain or subdomain in case you want to host this on a domain. If not, Dokploy will provide one for you. You will need to have Node installed on your machine. And yeah, in this video we are going to configure everything, and the first thing that you're gonna need to do is to configure GitHub. And in here I let the details that you need to follow to create the account and create a SSH key that you can go and link it to your GitHub account and have everything connected between your local machine and the GitHub repository. And right now let's go and create the GitHub repository for this. And in here I have the account and I hit create new, and in here I will just copy the name for this TanStack Dokploy app. It's the name. I'll put a description like this, and in here I will just let it public, but you can go and change this as you want. And in here I will just go and hit create repository, and right now the repository is created. We are not going to add anything in this repository. We are just going to have it there because we are going to need these details, so we can link this repository in GitHub with the one that we're going to create locally when we're going to run the TanStack Start. So the good thing of this, it is also that you are going to learn everything to get you started with TanStack. If you want to build an application, TanStack it's a fast alternative to Node.js. And in here, for instance, let's go and see what we are going to do next. So first let's create the database so we can have all the details in there. So in here I have the Dokploy installation, and at some point after we are creating database and everything, we are going to need to link GitHub with this. So in here in Git you are going to need to also link GitHub or any other provider that you like. In here for me I'm gonna link GitHub because Dokploy will need to go and fetch the repository details and in there, and in case something changes it will automatically go and apply the latest version. And I will hit create GitHub app because you can do it like this, and I will authorize this. Okay, and right now this is authorized. In there it will ask you to create to allow this, and in here you can go like this, and you can also use the authorization, and in here you can choose what repository you allow access. For this I will initiate for all like this, and right now we should have everything configured with GitHub in here, so we can deploy this application from GitHub when we want. We are going to see at that point. And in here in projects, what I'm gonna do, I will just create a new project, and in here I will call it SaaS app like this, where I will create a database and where we are going to put the application, the TanStack Start application like this. And in here you have the create service, And in here we have the options to use the application. This this will be done after we're configuring the database, and for the database I'll hit the database, and in here you will have some options to use the Postgres, MongoDB, MariaDB, MySQL, Redis, and we are gonna use PostgreSQL for this, and I will put a name. So I will give it like SaaS app. You can put whatever name you want. In here you can select your server. Right now I have 2 servers, and I will choose the main one for this. The app name I will let it like this, SaaS app. Okay. Description you can add. In here you can put the database name for this. So for this I will put the database name SaaS app like this, and database users I will create a user with Dragos. This is just for testing. Okay, so Dragos, and let me put the password with 123 AAF. I'll put something in here. You can generate your own password as you like. And right now what I will going to do, I will use Postgres 17 as image, because by default it will use 15. I am using 17 because I've seen that 18 has some issues with Dokploy. I'm going to check them after, but 70 should be more than enough. And in here I will hit create. Okay, it doesn't like special characters, so I will put it like this. Okay, and right now I have in here the SaaS app database, and in here in project in SaaS app you see that you have this Postgres, so you can understand from what it is. Maybe I should have modified the name to SaaS app DB like this to be clear what we have. And in here you will have also the details with the user, database, port, internal connection, because we are going to use these internal connections to connect to the database when we are going to deploy this. And in here you have also the external connection, so in case you need to have this running directly from your laptop and you want to connect externally, let's say from another provider or from your laptop, you need to enable this external connection in here. So 5432 like this, and I will hit save, and this will gonna create an external host for us. And right now you will see that you have this link in here which has the server IP address. And right now I will just hit deploy, and this should start pulling out the image and deploying the application. And right now this looks like it started, and if we're going to check the logs in here, you're gonna see that this is running and it's using 5432 port. And yeah, you can go and see the monitoring, and you can go and assign limits if you want and other things in here. But right now we have an application that it's up and running, and it's using a user and password, and it can be accessed externally. Also, if you are using a firewall to protect this, I am using the firewall in Hasner for this. You will need to go in here in the firewalls, in rules, and allow the connectivity towards this port. So to be able to access this database externally, you will need to have the 5432 accessible external. In here you see that I've added all IP ranges to be allowed to access this port. And also, if we're going to check the details in here, you have also some commands that you can run and add them in the IP tables in case you are using a Linux firewall with IP tables, so you can allow access to this port. So this article has everything, and right now we have the database created. So database is up and running in the SaaS app production. Here you have the SaaS app database, and the next thing that we are going to do is to go and prepare our application for this. And to initiate an TanStack application, TanStack Start, we're going to run this command. We're going to open the terminal, and in here I am in my terminal. Let's make this thing bigger like this so you can see. Okay, and I will create the application like this, and this will have a wizard that will guide you to adding everything that you need. I've also included everything in my article. And let's let this thing run. Okay, right now it's the project name. Let's put the same name as we've put in the repo. It is not necessary to create it like this, but it's good to have the same name so you can know. Okay, we like to name your project like this. You like to use Tailwind CSS, yes. So in here I will use Biome for the lint checking. This is a modern alternative to ESLint. And in here you will have the options from what to choose. And in here we are gonna choose Drizzle for this. So basically Drizzle, it's the application that will allow us to communicate from the application with the database. And in here we're gonna use ShadCN for components, TRPC, and we're gonna use query for this. So I have hit the space to select everything, and after you finished with everything you can go and run enter. And in here you also have the options to choose the TanStack chat application that they are providing. We're not going to choose that. And in here you have the Drizzle database provider. You see that you have these options, but we've created a PostgreSQL database and I'm gonna choose PostgreSQL for this. Okay, and right now we should be able to deploy everything in there. Right now npm is installing everything. Of course you can change this with ban if you want, which is a lot faster, but this is just to demonstrate you how you are gonna configure Dokploy to host all of these things, and to see that everything is working as expected. So right now the application is installed, and in here you see that you are prompted to go and access this. And right now what I will gonna do, I will open Z with this. So this is the editor that I am using, and Z, it's this one. And in here, let me put it like this, make this thing bigger so you can understand. So in here you have the files, and we are going to open the terminal for this. And in here to see what we have installed, in here npm run dev, we are gonna run like this, and this should work with port 3000 by default. And if we're going to check what we have in there right now, you're gonna see that you have this TanStack default thing, and in here you see that we have some pages, and the thing that we're interested on is the Drizzle, but right now you see that this it's not working because you don't have Drizzle configured to point to our database. And in here you have other examples that you can use and check. Okay, and right now we're going to go and configure Drizzle for this. And to configure Drizzle, we have the environment variables. Let's go and copy the public credential. So in here you're gonna see that you have the public credential from your database, and in here you see that you have the username, password, the server IP address, port, and the database name. And we're going to go and open the Z, and in here you will have an environment local which has a generic thing like this, and we are just going to remove this, and we are going to add our URL. Let's see, it's not copied. Let me do it like this. Okay, I will gonna rename this to remove the local from it like this. And right now our application should point to the database. The recommendation for this is, in case you are using production and dev, to use a different database for development and let the production database be production database. But in here I'm just showing you how you can utilize the database in Dokploy. And right now we have in here the database added, and then we are going to go and create the details. In here you see that you have also another URL that you can point in there, some CLI tools. In Drizzle it will gonna use that, so you can also add this thing in there if you want to not have problems like this, and this will fetch the database URL that we've put it earlier. And right now in here you will need to be sure that you have this added in the git ignore, so the database to not be leaked into your GitHub repository, especially if it is public. And this should already have the environment in here, because it is added when this is initiated by TanStack Start. And right now we're gonna run some commands. So basically you have this Drizzle commands, db generate, db push, and studio. It's optional, so you can see what is in the database. We're gonna run all of them. And these commands are under the package.json, and in here you see when you are running the db generate or db migrate or db push pull, it will just go and run these commands. Drizzle kit with the command in there. And what we're going to do, I will just stop this right now because I want to run this generate first. So this will generate the schema with SQL file for us in here. So right now I'm in the application, and in here we see that you have a Drizzle directory created with an SQL file. Okay, and this demonstration has only a to-do table. This is just to show you how it's working. And then to push this to the database, we run the db push. So basically this will apply our schema in there like this. Okay, so right now as I'm connected to the database, in the environment variables you see that the schema details has been sent to the application. And if we are going to run the db studio, basically this is a nice interface that will help you just go and check easier the tables. You have the local.drizzle.studio, and if we're going to open this, you are going to see that you will have a nice interface in here with the to-do table. And this table, it has an ID, a title, and a created date. And in here you don't have anything right now added in this table, but we are going to go and add something in there. So yeah, this is explaining you all of these details. And right now what we are going to do is just to open this and see that it's working. Okay, I will close the studio, let it like this, and I will just open a new terminal in here, and I will run npm run dev. And right now this should start again the TanStack Start application. And in here, if we are going to check the Drizzle, previously it had an error. Right now, if we are going to add, for instance, go to play football like this, we're gonna add a to-do, and then it should be visible in our table. So in here you see that you have also all the details when you are creating this with how it is. And right now if you're going to check the studio, and let's refresh this, you're gonna see that you have one item added in there, and this is communicating with the database. That's why it's recommending to use like a development database, maybe which is local. Everything is set up, and the next thing that we are going to do right now is to prepare everything and have this installation prepared to deploy it with our VPS server. And with TanStack Start you need this Nitro plugin, so you can host this into your own VPS with Node. And what we are going to do is we are going to go in the application in here, we are going to stop this, and we are going to run the npm install TanStack Nitro v2 vite plugin like this. And this it will install the Nitro plugin. This is a version 2. Right now they are working also on version 3. If you are going to check the TanStack Start with hosting, docs, it has hosting in here. That's hosting. You're gonna see all of these details, and it will help you host it with Node, with Ban, and with other providers, Cloudflare and so on. And this should have been installed. Okay, so this is installed right now. And the next thing that we're going to need to do is to go and configure the Nitro in the vite-config. So in vite-config, we need to add this Nitro v2 plugin in there with the import, and then go and add this in there with preset Node server, so it can run on our server. You can use also Ban for this if you want. It's up to you. And I will open the vite-config, and in here I will just go and import it like this, and then I will just go and add the detail in here. So Nitro 2, I will go and open the details like this, and I will add it in the plugin area in here. And right now we should have this prepared for hosting it on our VPS server in Dokploy. And the other thing that you need to do is to update the package.json file, and you need to have this build in there with vite build and start. So in case the Railpacks to know what to do. So this is the options to run it. First it will be build, then it will be started. So the build is in there. We're just gonna need to add the start. And we're going to open the packages, and in here you see that you have the build, and after build we're gonna add the start like this. We'll put a common in here, and right now this should work. If we're going to run, for instance, npm run build like this, it will build our application. Okay, so it build the application, and then if you run npm run start, this will start the application, and it will run on port 3000 like it was before, like this one. Next, what we are going to go and do is to go and prepare everything in there, but sometimes I'm seeing that the package.log is creating problems because it's not using the correct version of Node when you're using Railpacks or the Nix packs, and that's why I am just going to remove this package.log, because anyways it will be created automatically. So I've removed the package from here, and right now we're gonna need to go and push the details to our repo. So to do that, we are going to add everything in the repo. So in here I will stop this, and I will run git add -c. I will do a git commit, added the new things, and then we're going to go and check our repository in here, and we're going to run this git branch main, and then we are gonna add origin to this to the repository that we've created. Okay, I will add this repository created, so this local installation of git to point to the GitHub repository that we've created, and we are gonna push everything in there. Okay, so right now this has went, and if we're going to refresh this, you're gonna see that this repository has the details that we've configured with everything. And the next thing that we're going to do is to go and create an application in here, and we're going to go in Dokploy. We already have the git initiated with this is the first step, and then we are going to go to project in our SaaS app, and we are gonna create a service. It will be an application like this, and I'll put the SaaS app. I'll put it like this as up front. In here you can select the server. I'll let it on the same server and I will hit create. Okay. And right now in here, if we're going to check the details, we have the general tab and we have a lot of things in here. And what we are going to do in here, we are going to choose our GitHub account like this. We are going to select the repository. So it was TanStack Dokploy app like this. And in here we are going to select the main branch like this. And in here we are going to save this and we are going to choose the build type. So the options, the best options are NixPacks and Railpack. So basically Railpack is a lighter alternative to NixPack. I will choose this and save like this. And right now we have everything configured in here, but we are going to need to go into the environment details in here. And what we are going to do in here, we are just going to add our environment config. In here I have the database URL like this that we're going to add in there. Okay, and for this database URL, what we're going to do, let me open again this, we are going to go again into the database, into the DB, and in here you will have an internal connection URL. So we're going to use this internal connection URL when we are hosting everything in there, because it will be faster, because like this it will communicate directly with the Docker container, it will not go to the public internet. Okay, we'll copy to clipboard. We're going to go into the application. In here we are going to put this, we are going to close this, and then we are going to add the other thing like production, where it was like this, node and production. So node environment, when you are setting this, it will make some internal customizations to speed things up. Port is already the port 3000 that will be used for this, but I will also add it in here. So I'll do it like this. And for domains, we can also add a domain in here. And in here we can generate one with traffic, or we can add one in our DNS provider. But for this test, I will just go and generate one so you can see that it's working. And in here you will need to put the port, and it was the 3000 port. You can enable HTTPS if you want for this. For this, I will not enable any HTTPS because I want just to show you that it's working. So right now we should have everything configured in here. So we have this setup, we have the environments configured, the database is up and running, and we're just gonna go and hit deploy like this, and this should start deploying our application. And in here you will see that this will gonna use the Railpacks for this Railpack, and it will use the latest version that is right now. It will gonna use Node. If you have Bun, you can use also this with Bun to speed things up, to install it and have a faster deploy. And in here right now it will go and install all the packages for us, and this should take about 2 minutes to finish, because the npm install it will take the longest, and then it will build the application, and then it will start the application. And right now we need to wait for everything to be set up, but at the end we should have the application up and running. It may be a problem maybe with the domain, but if we see that problem with the domain, we can just go and hit rebuild again, and it will be fixed. I've seen that sometimes the domain is not working from the first. You need to go and do it for a second time. So right now it's building the application. This should be quite fast. Okay, it start building the application, then it will go and run the npm start. These are some warnings for this. Okay, and right now it will prepare everything for us. So this is the good thing with this Dokploy and others application that are offering similar things, because it's very easy to deploy your own application and don't rely on the cloud hosting providers. Of course, in case this is business critical, you may be tempted to use Varcel, because this is not that easy to maintain if you are not like knowing some things about VS and things like that. But right now we should have this application running. You see that it took about 2 minutes. Right now we have the details. If you are going to check the logs, you see that it's listening on port 3000. And let's see if the domain is working right now. Okay, so it's working. You see in here that I'm using the SaaS endpoint with the traffic me. And in here, if we're going to check the Drizzle thing, you see that because we've added the details in there previously, because we've linked to the production database directly, and so when we did the development, you will have the play football thing, and you can start adding things like this, and this is working. And right now the details are added into the database directly. So if we are going to check the studio, let's see if this is still open. Let's refresh, because again, this is linking to our production database. You are going to see that the records have been added in here. And right now this is working out of the box with our installation. So yeah, like this you are adding your TanStack Start application or any other application if you want in there. In here I pasted also some other interesting things that can help you in case you have problems. These are some things that I've noticed. These are some customizations for speeding things up. And in here, for instance, if we're going to check my projects in here in my apps, you're gonna see that I have an Astro application in here also configured, that it's deployed in here. It's with Bit Tools. And right now this application it's running with Astro and Svelte, and these are some AI tools that are configured in here, and it's running very well also with Astro and Svelte. So I'm using the same thing to host this BitTools application in there. So yeah, in this way you are using Dokploy to configure an application and DB. And in case you like what you have seen, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.